A very good evening to everybody present here. My name is Lubna Naim and I'm the host for today's panel discussion. A very interesting topic, and today's topic is we are discussing on the transnational education and global mobility of the students. Let me introduce you to the panel. We have with us Mr. Guillaume Fink, Vice President of Collège de Paris and UAE Business School, France. We have with us Mr. Vineet Rugani, Director, Brits Imperial University College, Sharjah. So my first question is to Mr. Guillaume. So what are the goals and what is your vision of the Collège de Paris group with respect to expanding it to the global reach to the students for different continents?
It's a very interesting question, and it's the very reason why I'm here today, in reality. We believe that education should not be British or American or Australian or French. We believe that the leaders of tomorrow need a truly international understanding and a truly international experience. From the point of view of a school, it can be very expensive to build a campus in India, in China, in the United States. So we chose an alternative path, considering also the fact that sometimes it's difficult for a student to move and study abroad. It can be expensive, it can be difficult to get a visa. Sometimes the family is not happy to see their child move 5,000 kilometers away, which I can understand. So rather than moving the school or moving the student, we move the program. In other words, we identify partners like Brits or Nest Academy to duplicate exactly the program we operate in Paris locally here in Dubai, which means that students who will graduate here will graduate with the exact same degree as the one they would receive if they were in Paris, for example. So you see, we don't move the students, we don't move the school, we move the program. And we've been very successful, and because it's not cash intensive, it's made it possible for us to develop our solutions with over 30 different countries. And then phase two, the second level of the ship, is that once you have built this network of 30 campuses abroad, it becomes very easy for students to move from one campus to the next, not necessary to Paris. They are more than welcome to join us in Paris. But it's also now possible for a student who registered in Nigeria to move to Dubai for one semester, and then to Bangalore in India, and then to Washington, and then to China, and maybe in Paris in the end. So we've made it possible. Not all of them will do it. Again, there's cost, there's visa, but at least from the point of view of tuition fees, there's no change. Once they've paid their tuition fees here in Dubai, they can move to any of our campuses. Why is it important for us? And I don't want to be too long, but just so you understand where we and why we want to do this, every study we have conducted shows that students with an international experience during their studies not only have much higher wages when they start working, but they also access a managerial position in corporations much faster, 2 years versus 5. So we know it has a fundamental impact on their professional lives, but it also has an impact on their personal life. And it's also part of our missions, to produce people who are open to the world, enlightened, respectful of other cultures, understanding, and it's fun. It's fundamentally fun to go spend some time abroad.
In short, you're creating leaders beyond borders.
We try.
Inshallah, you'll be successful with
Inshallah.
the partners you have in Dubai. So, Mr. I just wanted to understand from your perspective, what are the benefits in studying in France, and how UAE Business School is different from any other business school?
In France, you have basically two models of education: the public education system, which is excellent and free. Alternatively, there's also room for private education, such as us, which works in a very substantially different model from universities. Universities are mostly research-oriented. We are employment-oriented. 70% of our students are on a work-study contract, which means tuition fees are paid by a corporation. Students get paid and work part-time for a company, then they go to school part-time. It's also accessible to foreign students. Just to tell you that our objective is not so much to produce a nice piece of paper, It's to give people job opportunities in fields that they enjoy, in positions that reward them. So our focus, to be clear, is employability. We do research where we have academic excellence, but for us it's just one of the elements of a greater equation where not only do we provide students with wonderful job opportunities, but with job opportunities that can be anywhere on the planet. So that's really what makes us a little bit different from the rest of the pack. And if I may, Lubna, add one more thing that I think is important for us. We are a private education group, but we are under a special legal status under French law, which if I translate is a company with a mission, which means that we are a for-profit organization, but we have a formal engagement to give back to the community. It's part of our regulation system. And it takes, for example, for us, the form of supporting the University of Refugees. It's a university in France where, for example, a refugee from Afghanistan who was a doctor in Kabul doesn't have to be a taxi driver in Paris. We can qualify that person to operate as a doctor in France. We can also educate refugees with language so that they can better adapt to wherever they end up. We also support education for autistic students, not by building a special school for them, but by building a system in our school where they are in the same classroom as all the other students. We just support them so that they can follow the same classes as everybody else. So we're not just a for-profit organization. We go a little bit beyond that.
That's really interesting, I must say. I mean, the
Thank
whole
you.
mission and vision towards the whole program is very, very interesting. My next question is for Mr. Willington. What are your goals and vision for the students in UAE and in GCC countries? How do you think this partnership with the Nuclear Business School will benefit the students?
Yes. So thanks a lot for having us over here. Firstly, so two parts to the question. Firstly, we at Brits Imperial, the vision and the mission that we kind of started with, especially in UAE, were around four pillars, if I say so. We start with quality, which is obviously what everyone is looking at, but there was mobility aspects, especially because we have a lot of international students coming. We have students coming from more than 35 different countries, so mobility is a very important aspect. Employability, again, a very important aspect. So the programs that we've been running are revolving around the pillars of Dubai economy. So we're not just running programs for the sake of it. It's all which is required in the Dubai economy, in the industry over here, in general in UAE. So employability is a very important aspect. And lastly is affordability. So what we want to give a platform for the students, because normally when they look at the West, when they look at places like US, Canada, Europe, affordability is a big challenge to especially students coming from developing or lesser developed countries. I won't say underdeveloped, but yeah. So that's major challenges, and that's what we are trying to resolve. With regards to our partnership with Collège de Paris and Nuclear Business School, it was an instant connection when these same four pillars is what the vision or the objective which they had, and there was alignment in terms of what we were looking for in a partnership, and it was like a marriage made in heaven types, and that's what we are trying to do over here.
That sounds really good. All the best. I think it's gonna rock. Again, Mr. Kumar, what do you think the European degree will help the students in their career? What different international job opportunities it's gonna create other than being in the Middle East or in France?
Our countries, even though very, very similar in many ways, have specificities. You have, for example, here in Dubai, a very powerful hospitality industry. So do we, but they are of fundamentally different natures. Very big, large, powerful operations here, boutique hotels on the French Riviera. Our gastronomy is fundamentally different. One of our most successful international programs is food and wine management. Wine is not a fundamental part of the culture of the Middle East. It is in Europe. What becomes interesting is that when you do studies in food and beverage management, you learn about French wine, which is something you wouldn't learn normally in Dubai. But then you also learn about yield management that is fundamentally applied here in the Dubai economy.
Yes.
So that mix of trying to take from every country we work with what is actually relevant for a student enables us to produce programs which make those students relevant in just about any country by really taking the best of both worlds. Sometimes it's not possible. We're very strong in the fashion education, higher education in fashion. It's one of the French know-hows traditionally. When I bring a French program in fashion design to Pakistan, I can't do it exactly. I can't teach in Pakistan the art of drawing nudes. It's not culturally acceptable in Pakistan, while it's completely normal in France. So we also take that into account, is that we adapt our programs with what comes from our other markets. We readapt them when we bring them back to those markets. And so in the end, it makes an interesting mix, and it's alive. Because Dubai 10 years ago is not Dubai today, and Dubai in 10 years will not be the Dubai of today. So new industries will come here. Artificial intelligence, data science. These will be jobs that Dubai will build and require in 10 years. So we're preparing that. We just got our degrees accredited in data science and artificial intelligence. And Vinit was very happy because he understands that this is something he needs for Dubai. So these are alive programs. That's the best word that comes.
That's really amazing because to teach what is relevant is very important, rather than just to teach.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because let them grow in their own natural habitat, I would say.
And who here can predict what the world will be like in 20 years?
True.
No one.
I completely agree on that. Next question is for Mr. Vinay, please. How this partnership between Brits Imperial University College, Sharjah and Okia Business School of the College de Paris grew any different from any other universities and any other affiliations?
Yes.
So what is new about it?
Yeah, so I think that's a very relevant question, especially when you have a lot of other partnerships being thought across. But just one point I'd like to add on the previous question, even though that was not mine, but an important point over here on the table is World Economic Forum data tells you that in 2030, half of the jobs that are going to be existing don't even exist today. So when we are imparting education on the future, on the youth, how can you predict things which are not even existing today? So how do you train them? So self-learning becomes a very important part of the whole ecosystem of education, and that is what we are also trying to build. As regards to our partnership with UCLIA group or the College de Paris Education Group, it's a very hands-on partnership that we have, be it in terms of academia, the curriculum being presented is closely worked with, closely discussed with the team over there, especially because when you look at the developed countries, some of those are 10 years, 20 years ahead of you, where certain countries are going to go and certain countries are behind you. And the kind of students diaspora that we have, they are looking for what is there in terms of learning, which is going to be 5-10 years ahead of you. And that is where we take the expertise of College de Paris in terms of the curriculum, in terms of the faculty, not just for the student diaspora, but even for the professionals diaspora that we're starting now, both in the masters and in the doctorate DBA domain as well, where we are working closely to not just for the students' education, but for people who are already there working. They need to upgrade themselves. COVID was a big reality check for everyone that nobody is immune, and everyone needs to refresh and relearn every 5 to 10 years because technology is becoming redundant very quick. So, people want to be prepared for the future jobs, and that is what we are trying to give in our partnership with College de Paris.
I think I must say all the very best from our side because I'm excited to learn more because I'm a mother of 2 boys. So for me, it becomes more, as you said, mobility and, the cost structure of it. I'm sure the not only students, the parents of Dubai or UAE would be interested in something like this. Yes. And I wish you all the very best from my side.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And
Thanks
we
a
will
lot.
be very happy to host them in France or wherever else in the world.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. Thank you.